Hi, everybody. I'm Mia. Thanks so much for joining us here. I'm so excited to have my friend Jen back. Hi, Jen. How are you doing today? What's going on?
I'm good. I'm really happy to be here. Like, we've been talking about this one for a while, and I feel like it's the perfect time now. So,
Perfect time. Yeah. So we're gonna I just wrote a Substack on this subject too, and it's the Earth is a magical realm. And Jen and I really love chatting about that and all of the implications, and we're gonna go into what we mean by that. But also we just before we jumped on, we're just starting to tune into the energetics right now. So we just wanted to have that conversation with you guys too, because it feels so collective, right? We were just talking about how there's this really powerful like void energy right now. Yeah,
yeah.
and then Jen, like share what you wrote, got in your download too, because that's potent.
Yeah, so on my Patreon, I do monthly energetic reads, and the word that I got was power for the month of September, and it just feels like there's so much power for the month, and we're gonna see that in different ways, but for as an individual, it's like power, like this is power for your sovereignty, power for your alignment, power
Mm,
for your presence. And that was like what really made me think about it. There's like Mia was talking about going to the beach every day. And she's like, I'm just in this void. And I'm like, oh my God, I feel that too. Like, not in the same way, but it's this power that is like so strong, that is like really, yeah, having us open up to like what is our sovereignty, what does that feel like, what does that look like. And I think like the ease, like
yeah.
I really I shared the other day of like really like finally having that land in my body where you can just be present. We're not like
Mm,
hustling all the time. And
yeah.
I think there's just this really big energy right now that's like the power of the pause, the power of the void,
The
the power
power of
of
the
the presence.
Yeah, yes. Yeah, because we're moving into a more being sort of existence as a culture, and we have not been in that, and we have not been championed for that. Like we really it's, we have words like lazy, what are you doing? You don't know your purpose. You're going to the ocean, you should be like doing some shit, all this stuff, right? Because it's not always like comfortable. Like, yeah, I'm going to the ocean every day because I'm like, I don't sort of know what to do. And yeah, I just feel this pull, and it feels like just get comfortable. If you don't know, don't like scramble. Just go into that space,
Yes.
like find the receptivity energy. And it makes sense because we're about to step into like monumental changes for the planet on the world stage, the new financial system, all that stuff. And it's like, are we able to receive that? Because it's going to be really different.
It's going to be so different. And like Amanda and I just did like a talk on this the other day of like, what does it really mean to like be able to align with this new paradigm?
Yeah.
And I think like what we're being introduced to is you're right, it is such a foreign concept. And it is like, for me personally, I had a hard time if I'm like doing something, I was or resting or just enjoying a TV show with my family or being outside trying to relax, I would have this in my head like you should be sending emails or you should be doing this or there was always this back talk, and it finally has landed of that presence, that being. And that's like the way that you said it is like the human being is to be, like we
Yeah.
are beings for a reason. And I think that that is like such a foreign concept. I don't think people know how to receive or embrace or embody
No.
the
And
being.
everything is pushed us from experiencing that void space. And I love my friend Lacey, who has that platform to be magnetic. She calls it the magic dark. And that's really beautiful because it's like that space where everything is birthed from. We're like, I'm getting chills. Yeah, we're like in that birthing portal as a collective right now. But everything, right, our whole lives has said, like, don't go in there. It's scary. It's bad.
Yep.
Like it's so much programming. And just feelings that make us feel like we're not supposed to go in there, but everything is birthed from that space. It's that space of
Yeah,
surrender. Sometimes I'm like, I don't know, I'm just going to put it in the God basket. For me, that's the going into that void, that surrender, that just letting go. And like, you guys, it's not always like, it could sound like, yeah, I just go to the beach every day, but like, no, it's not. It's always more complicated, right? Or we all
right.
have our own things that we're dealing with relative to that. Like what you're saying, that voice. For me, it's like a lot of things in my personal life are crumbling and changing right now. That it's like deeply uncomfortable. But I know, like, through this process and having gone through this process so many times in my life, I also know, like, yeah, you just have to feel those feelings and be in that space. And that's how the vacuum brings in the new. And it feels like so yeah, like on this personal level, like above is below, without, within, right? So we're all going
Yes.
through these versions in our personal life, and then there's like the collective
Yeah.
crazy void, right?
100%. Like, it's interesting to always see like what you're going through individually, and then if you tap into the collective, which I I don't necessarily like. I don't watch the news anymore. I don't necessarily like tap in,
Hmm.
um, because that feels better for me. But if you do tap in, you can see how like what you're experiencing on an individual level is at a collective level. And
Yeah.
it really it's also like this big, again, like this big purge, like for us to really be
Mhm.
able to be in the presence of being there has to be the purge. We have to just allow those voices in our head, like, you're lazy, you're not doing enough, your worth equals how busy you are, you stupid,
Yeah.
like, you have to purge those, like, those thought processes. And I said this the other day, like, your journey it's not linear, it's never linear, it's always spiral, so it's continually seeing something from like a higher perspective, but like also from a deeper perspective. And it's just interesting how,
Mhm.
just how everything's all coming together.
I
Like, it really is like it's dense right now, I think, because like I still see this energy like bottlenecking. Like, we're definitely not at the place where it's like full explosion yet. So it can feel like, you know,
yeah,
uncomfortable. It can feel very
uncomfortable.
uncomfortable. But at the same time, it's like, whoa, like, whoa, this is, and it's like, it is uncomfortable on a personal level, because like when you're in the void, you don't know what the next step is. Like, you don't
Yeah.
have the blueprint. And so that's the other word that I got for the month, was a surrender. Like, we have to be able to surrender to the power of what's right in front of us and what's coming.
Yeah, totally. And it is so powerful. And then what I love is it's like, I think once you let yourself do that, go into that discomfort and be, and just feel the feelings, let them kind of ride the waves, let them pass through from holding that inner space. It's like you do start to get these glimmers of like almost excitement, because it's like,
Yes.
well, this is very uncomfortable. There's like, well, what about this? What if this could, certain things come in, these little sparks of like potential, and realize,
Yes.
remembering that, well, and trusting that like what's happening is for our highest good. So like, we don't know yet. Like, here we talk about a lot of the things unfolding on the world stage, and what we do know is coming, the new financial system, this new golden age, all this stuff. But there's lots of pieces, like, of course, in our personal life and in that larger collective, that we
Right.
don't know yet. And that's really exciting. So I just try to, like, feel those like glimmers, and just let my, again, it's even like those are just little waves of excitement start to come in, and it's like, okay, just work with the nervous system, kind of
Yes.
hold that being space, and just, you know um kind of do all we can to remind ourselves that everything is always working out for us. And that's also why, like, I, in these times, like, it's just to do all we can to kind of harmonize and be in the now moment, whether it's listening to Abraham Hicks, going to the ocean, just
Right.
whatever your medicine is.
Yeah, but I love that. I mean, and that's like the key point, though, I think, Mia, is like tending to yourself in that time that doesn't feel comfortable, like, I don't want to gloss over that. Like, it's not comfortable, but it is, how can you tend to yourself? How can you help yourself or support yourself during that time, but also really hold on to those moments of peace, those moments of like resonance, you know, the moments
Yeah.
that things are going to change for the better. And like this came up in the energetic read too, was that things are working out for us, but it doesn't always look like that. You know,
No,
how many times
yeah.
have we gone through an experience and it's like, this is ruining everything. Like this is going to ruin everything. And then you know, a year later, you're like, whoa, that completely changed my life for the better, you know?
Yeah, and it's always, come on, it's really always like that. So
Yes.
I love like to like jump like, yeah, like as a portal to like where what we want to talk about too. It's like to the
Yes.
world stage, like, okay, so we're seeing like the destruction, the death, the crumbling
Yep.
of the old guard, and to some people that looks really scary. To us, we're like, yes, bring it. We're really excited.
Another
But like
surrender moment.
surrender moment though, but it's wild. And but then you have, so you're watching this kind of like, you know, the military kind of coming out from behind the shadows, who in my, you know, we know have been really like running the show for a long time now. And but then we're also seeing people say just kind of casually on the world stage, like, well, we have these billions from the tariffs now. Maybe we should give everybody a dividend check. And then we have like Elon 2.0 saying like, oh, well, oh, how is, you know, AI going to affect us? And to me, I just use the word quantum because to me, it's all about the quantum systems. That's
Yeah.
how I interpret that. And he's like, oh, well, we're going to have universal high income. And again, like it's all the universe in a sense, or in it, but it's really all also the white hat military, the good guys basically preparing the collective for to move into this new world and to abundance. So I would just, you know, hold the, you know, I can't
Hold the
hold the
line
line.
for, yeah, like hold the line for the possibilities. And what's really interesting is like when you talk about things like that, I've talked about things like that, and you'll see people like shift in their body, or they can't, again, it's like they can't expand to the possibilities. And
Yes.
that all I ask is that if that's you or someone you know, like obviously hold space, but you can ask yourself too, like, where am I still gripping to something that
Hmm.
isn't actually serving us as humanity?
Yeah.
Where can I like surrender to these possibilities of it being something better?
Right. Because what limiting beliefs am I holding
Correct.
that, yeah, that are like not serving me? And for me, for a long time, it was that time, money equals time.
Yes,
Like, you
100%.
know, or
I think that's going to be a big one for a lot of people,
yeah. Yeah, because
you know?
it's been very difficult to imagine in this slavery systems we've been steeped in
Hmm.
just abundance, that there's enough for everybody, that
Yep.
we completely move out of the program of scarcity, and that is truly where we're going. So yeah, I think for a lot what this void is kind of up systems upgrade and
Yes.
release and purging of the stuff that's standing in the way of that. And for some people that might look like collapse kind of, or just like despair even, and kind of being like, I'm
Yes.
done. And that's because that can really break, kind of break through, like open our heart to just be like, again, surrender to the divine. And
Well,
so
it's like we are moving into the eclipse season, and those can be like, they're not like a caress on the face, like everything's going to be okay. They're like a bitch, get it together, you know?
totally, you're gonna let go of this shit that's no longer serving you. You might not like it, but it's gone. And it's just like
Yeah,
the rug pulled, and it's like, what? Like, oh my God, this is
exactly.
so uncomfortable. So yeah, I think we're all going through our version of that. So if
Yeah.
you are like being gentle with yourself, like it's the vibe right
Yes.
now.
It's
But
the
like,
vibe.
but like we're gonna also talk about so many exciting things that are
Yeah.
also happening, because it's like this portal is opening into like a lot that I know Jen, you and I, we see and we're like, oh my gosh, and maybe not the whole collective is seeing yet. For sure, not everybody's seeing yet. But like one of these things in relation to like what I just kind of talked about, the military coming out, they're also like, we're going to look at the Smithsonian. We're going to assess all of the things at the Smithsonian. Trump did that executive order recently. And I'm sure, Jen, you were like, oh my God, yeah, the Smithsonian, right?
Like,
Because like, that's like to us, it's like, I grew up listening to Coast AM and all story after story of people that were like, I found these giant bones on my property. They told me to call the Smithsonian. They came and took them away, and I never saw them again.
Yep.
It's like story after story of magical pieces of our hidden history that have been taken by the Smithsonian. And then, of course, like we also have the piece of, taking out a lot of the social engineering, like, right? I think they're going to probably take some of the woke culture out of that. But to me, like the bigger story is like what we're going to get into is this that our history has been hidden and they've been a
A
big
hundred
player
percent.
in hiding it, right?
100%. I mean, that was like one of the biggest things for me was like, I didn't know, and my daughter is like this. So it's so interesting to like watch her because it's like watching me as a little girl. And like Lainey got out her book the other day and she said, I have to get out my spell book. And she'll open up the book and she'll use her hands. And like when it rains, she sings until the clouds go away and they literally go away.
Oh,
So we are innately magical. And this realm, I think there's still like a little bit of a veil over it just because our consciousness has to be
yeah.
like at a certain point where we can really like unlock that ourselves through sovereignty. But this is like, it's just so, so interesting to me. So like I have a whole book on giants and how these people, some archaeologists, some just regular Joe Schmoes who found these amazing massive bodies. And yeah, the Smithsonian came in and said, yes, we'll take them, we'll catalog them. And then they incinerated the bones. And there are actually multitudes of lawsuits against the Smithsonian for destroying evidence of our
Mhm.
real history. That was done by design, because if we don't understand our true history, where we came from, what we come from, the magic that existed, we have no grounding in this realm.
Yeah,
We
I
don't.
just got full body chills. Right, it's taking our power away
A
because if
hundred percent.
we don't know who we are, we don't know our true history, we don't know where we are, we don't know what this realm really is. Because when you pull one of these threads, whether it be giants or something like the toroidal field of the Earth, and maybe the Earth isn't a round ball spinning through space, like we've been told. Are there two moons? I just showed a video that
I
a
saw
neighbor
that
up
video.
here. Yeah, I mean, so any of these threads, when you pull them, it's not because people say, like, well, why would they hide giants? Well, because it doesn't end there. It's like you open that door. I mean, even think of the literal giant doors that we've seen all over like Europe, that have a latch up high. They don't have a latch down here. I mean, one
No.
has been added. They have the latch up high. So who went through those doors? So when you even if you go into architecture, then it leads you to free energy, that the aether coming to the, I mean, any of these threads, it basically
Yep.
starts to open up the entire Pandora's box about who we really are, and that we're actually way more powerful too, right? So it's like
A hundred
they have
percent.
these big reasons for trying to like put a lid on it all for
Well,
control.
yeah, that's what my dad was like, why would they hide giants? And I'm like, but why wouldn't they? If
Yeah.
you look at like everything that we've been told about history, like why wouldn't they go through that? Because that's exactly right. It's not just about giants. That opens the door to like if you're going biblical to the
Hmm.
stories of the Nephilim. That opens stories to if you're not going biblical and you're maybe going more historical, that opens the story to demigods actually really existing. It opens the door to so much more than just
Yeah.
giants.
So much more
It,
because even also like something I always go to for people who maybe those topics are a little like I
oh
know
my
they're a little
God.
far out. It's like, well, this one is far out too. It all is. That's the thing. But also like, well, if there were giants and titans that big, then we also see these remnants of these massive trees, and
Yes.
things like that. So maybe so then you start to see these petrified large you know, animals too. So it's like, well, what does that mean? And what that could potentially mean, I think what I believe it means is that then okay, so it must have been different here. And to me, that's like, well, the weather might have been different,
Yes.
and there might have been more oxygen, more ether, or have our grids of the earth been messed with? Like, why were things so easily able to be larger then? And then that kind of like brings into play geoengineering, and have
Yep.
they been messing with our weather, and have they not told us what the nature of this realm really is? And then that leads to weather warfare and things like Haiti or Katrina. And what have they been doing to humanity, the same group that's hiding this information? So yeah, it really everything connects to everything. That's just what I keep getting and saying lately. It's like everything connects to everything. Like this
Yep.
declass, this disclosure on the world stage is going to lead to all this stuff.
Yep. That's 100. And I think that's like the other thing that you want to like prepare your nervous system for, because like,
Yeah.
and I think I've talked about that before, like with my dad, like I'm grateful that I'm in his zone to be like, Dad, just, I'm right, you're wrong. Let's just go over all this stuff. So you're prepared. And he does, like he's like, "Oh my God, I just watched Ancient Apocalypse on Netflix," and he's like, "It's all the stuff that you've been talking about." And I'm like, so he's opening his scope more now that he can take that in. But I think like a lot of people, here's the thing. This is what also gets me too. If we believe in God, why is it so impossible or implausible to think of these other things that existed in this realm? Why is it so hard to think of Earth as being magical, especially
Right.
when we have these things recorded throughout history, not just in one location? We have them everywhere. And that's what's really exciting about the things that we're going to be talking about:
Mhm.
giants, mermaids, unicorns, the blemmyes. I don't even know how to say it. Is that how you say it?
I think so. I don't know.
I
Blemmyes? I
don't
don't
either.
know. We could go either way.
Blemmyes, blemmyes, the cynocephali, like fairies, elves, they are all over the world recorded. And
Yeah.
like this always gets me too, because people are like, well, dragons are folklore. And I'm like, how can you tell me that you believe in dinosaurs, but you have such a hard time with a dragon?
Right. There are even little tiny dragons. There are even creatures, I forget where maybe they're like in Madagascar or something, but they're small, but they're
Yeah,
flying
it's
literal flying dragons.
what are they called? Yeah, I can't remember what they're called, but yeah. And then we've got the kimono dragon. Is that
Right.
what it's called?
Yeah.
Like it's
Hmm.
not impossible. And it's just like how like we have, quote unquote, we have history supposedly, possibly, of pterodactyls, so you
Right,
learn
right.
that in your history book, but then why is it so hard for you to open your mind to the concept of a flying dragon?
Yeah, it's really
you
just the
know
programming, because once you kind of even
right.
open the possibility of it, then things, and try this, because things will start to magnetize themselves to you. These threads will come. That's what happens. The information comes to
Yeah.
you when you ask for it. So like I just shared something recently that was like it was an old encyclopedia. I forget from which year, but it said dragons, and then it said now in parentheses now rare. So like
Yes.
it's there's a lot of things like that that we can find. And then of course you have like the in Chinese astrology, right? Like
The
all
Chinese dragon. Yeah.
real animals, and then the dragon. So yeah.
That's
So
what and here's the thing, guys, like this is the other thing is like my dad is like, well, maybe they just were confused. And I'm like, so you're telling me that Marco Polo and Christopher Columbus, or these what do I want to say? The people that do the maps, I can't even think of the word, but the
oh,
cartography,
mhm.
these people who are educated, they just make that up?
Right. That's
They're
what's so
credible, they're credible in all their other findings, but they
mhm.
just make that up.
That's what's pretty fascinating, because I mean, if you go back and look at these maps, and think about it, of course, we don't really know the kind of technology that we had then. It's likely it seems like we had much higher
Yeah,
technology. But
yeah.
in
I mean, that's what
theory,
I think. Yeah.
even now though, with higher technology, it's not like I'm gonna like make a map in a day as a hobby in my spare time. Like there's a lot that
Right.
will go into that, and they're very elaborate. And yeah, when you look at these old maps, you can find ones there's lots that show like in Latin, like this is the land of the giants. There's the ones that say this is the area where the cynocephali, the dog-headed men live. This is on these old maps. I mean, so were they just having fun? I mean, why would they include fairy tale type things on the map? They wouldn't. I mean, they just wouldn't. I don't believe. So,
I don't believe they would at all, because why would that, what would that do? What purpose would that serve? You know, I can
right.
understand like a children's book, but like these were maps that people used. It was like, and they had kingdoms. And so that's the other thing
Mhm.
that I think
Yeah.
we like really need to open our mind to, is that these were like the cynocephali had kingdoms. And like I had done a whole thing on my Patreon about the cynocephaly, because Saint Christopher in the Catholic faith, as one of the patron saints in the old, like not now, but you can look this up. He is depicted as a
Yeah.
cynocephaly. He has a dog head. Also,
Yep.
then later, they changed it again to Saint Christopher being a giant.
Wow. Yeah, that's so fascinating. I mean, you can look this up.
Look
I
that
also
up. They
included some
look it up.
images in the recent Substack that I put out, and there are these old paintings of him with the dog head.
Yep.
I mean, it's so amazing. And that just opens, it's like so many questions. It's like, wow, so it was so normal then. It wasn't even a big deal, right? It
Correct.
seems like, I mean, that's what it seems like if they're going to depict. And also then I'm like, oh my gosh, well, kind of it's hard to find information on this stuff. That's why I would love to hear what you tuned in about this. But like, okay, so the dog-headed men, the cynocephaly, were they actually able to communicate? And I mean, because it's so interesting if Saint Christopher, you know,
So I got, yes, they could communicate. I got that they didn't. I got a couple of things. It was almost like, what do I want to say? Like as time went on, things would change, or it would also change like who they were around. But them themselves were able to communicate telepathically. And what's very
okay.
interesting, if
Mhm.
you're doing the research on like the blemmyes or the cynocephaly, you start to see how they're described as like more intelligent or higher consciousness beings.
Wow. So
And
almost
so,
like ETs.
yes,
Extraterrestrial also means extra land.
but
So,
here's what I got, what was really
mhm.
interesting, because I thought the same thing. I thought maybe they are ETs. I actually got that almost everything that we named, the giants, the mermaids, the unicorns, the cynocephaly, the blemmyes, they are actually all original to this
Wow.
realm.
Wow.
Now,
Okay.
when I say realm, that does mean beyond what we may be, like maybe
Right.
beyond the ice wall, or beyond what
Mhm.
we can conceptualize as the realm.
Well, because also, like, I believe there's almost like layered frequency
Yes,
worlds on top of each other, like pancakes too. So,
yes,
are they in a little bit of
yes.
higher frequency, right? And can you just share, let's just share what the blemmyes are, because I feel like most people, they may not know.
Yeah, so the blemmyes are really interesting. The blemmyes, and it's interesting. So the blemmyes are an ancient tribe from Nubia. And then but they're also seen in like India and other parts of Africa. So they kind of like stretch along. And that's what you'll start to notice when you do this research, is you'll see that they're not just in one location. They had kingdoms. And they actually had a kingdom between 600 BC and 300 AD. So what does that tell you, Mia? That's like a
Wow.
prime time of like when we start to see like destruction
Right.
of things, right? Like that
Mhm.
was like 600 BC, so before Christ. And then we're moving into 300 AD. I always say after death, but we're starting to see where these creatures, I shouldn't say creatures, these beings they either went into hiding or they were annihilated. But the
Wow.
blemmyes, they were recorded to have no head. Now, some people are like, they were just higher consciousness, like they were more of a heart bound people. So it would seem that maybe they would construe the visual. But again, why would they do that? Why would they
So,
draw somebody with no head to
so I,
represent? Like, it's
I
not
wanted
Picasso.
No, it's weird. I want to describe for people in case you guys haven't seen these images, and you can look on my Substack. I'll put the Substack below
Yeah.
for images, but they have no heads, but they have a face here on their body. They look really weird. They're like faces
Like
here.
their mouth is here.
It's so wild, and there are many, 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 many drawings of these beings. Yeah.
So what's really interesting too is that they have evidence of their state structure that comes from inscriptions found in the temple of Isis,
Whoa, really?
right?
I
So isn't
didn't
that
know that. Wow.
incredible? So like
Wow.
that's what I mean, I think it goes back to so much more than we can comprehend. And the one thing that I got, and I'll finish with the blemmies, but the one thing that I got was the dragons are the only creatures that they're not original to this realm. That's at least
Okay.
what I got. And I
Yeah.
got that they were like elemental dragons. So we had fire dragons, water dragons, earth dragons, and air dragons. It was like, I don't know how, but like it seemed like they would be with the elements. And then it seemed like we might have had like people or beings branch off and kind of work with each element. And I think that's how we started to get into like having these, I guess I want to say like temples or religions or things like that. Like it so slowly started to build from the original, but I digress. So there are a couple of people who had the blemmyes in writing. And one of them, the first guy was a historian, and his name, I'm going to mess this up. It was like Herodotus. Herodotus. Anyway, but he was the first one who was very specific in his description of this type of human-like creature. So
Mm.
it was like they were human, but there was something different about them. And
Hmm.
so then again, Mela was a Roman geographer, and they literally said their faces are on their chest. Now we're talking about a geographer. Why would these people not use the detailed description of saying, oh, like one thing said in my research that like their head was so close to their shoulders that it looked like their head was in their torso. I don't think so. I think that these people knew what they were doing and knew how to properly write down information for somebody to understand what they're reading. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So
I
I
mean,
don't believe that I don't think they were taking artistic freedom.
right.
I
It
think
just
they were
doesn't really make
describing what they
sense.
saw. Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so then there's a couple of other people, and you can always look this up too, but the travels of Sir John Mandeville, he talks about them. There's also the Pliny and Elder, and that's a book that's describing them. And then Solinus, I don't know that name, but these are like Greek and Roman.
Mhm.
They also note them. And so again, there's a misrepresentation where they say that they wore heavy headdresses. And so they over exaggerated in their description of them having their heads in their torsos. But again, I just ask if these are educated people who were known to put out information, why would they take creative freedom in saying that their heads were in their chests if they weren't?
Yeah, I mean, it's even kind of weird and random. It's like, would we do that nowadays? I mean, not, it just doesn't even, it's like, I don't believe it. Yeah.
I mean, unless you're, yeah, like unless you're reading I guess there's a difference, right? Unless you're reading a fairy tale, but if you're reading like a scientific
Mhm.
or, like something that's actually really focused on information, like fact, which these people seemed like they were even back then, like these things were,
Mhm.
like they were documented.
Yeah. I mean, and even the fairy tale, that's like a whole other conversation
Yep.
because what is that really too, right? But
And what is that too? And that's the thing is like, are they really fairy tales?
Right.
They came
Yeah.
from somewhere, you know? And like you had asked me, like with the unicorns, and considering that these are like what I got is all of these creatures are guardians, like they are guardians of the realm. And they almost remind me of like it here's how I want to explain this. Like to me, when we talk about like primordial gods, like even the Titans,
Mm-hmm.
those are the OGs of the planet.
Mm-hmm.
When we go into like the Olympian gods, which is a whole separate era, those are infiltrators. Those are people who
Mm-hmm.
came in and tried to take over. So we've got these infiltrators who then are trying to take over and eliminate the original guardians of our realm and the
Mm-hmm.
magic. That's at least what I got. But the Blemmies, like there's even text about them going to war and then like needing aid. And I think this
Wow.
has to do with like the Dutch Empire and the English
Wow.
Empire,
Mm.
and France even was involved. Like those are that's like a pretty big thing. I don't know why that would
Yeah.
just like why would you go into all this detail to make that up, you know?
Wild.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I really think that they were like the Blemmies were. And I think the Blemmies were, I think they worked very closely with magic. I think that's like why a lot of these beings
Mhm.
were taken out.
Yeah, I mean, it would make sense if they were closer to our in what really is our original state, I believe too, right? They're still
Yes.
really telepathic. They're working closer with the elements, that it would make sense while they're attempting to destroy all of the old world and the old magic and who we really are, that they would want to erase them. Yeah.
Yeah, and
Um
I tried to get like an answer if they were still around, like if any had gone into hiding or and I could not get an answer. And that could be for protection right now. I don't know. But it really seemed like the Blemmies were targeted and
Yeah, it's
taken
so
out.
bad. I mean, it really makes you think of things like Lord of the Rings,
Yep,
which
a
feels
hundred
like
percent.
it was channeled. It's like that's the thing. It's like it's such Earth is a magical realm. There's so much more going on and so much more in our history. And we're gonna, as we move forward, again, it's like I know that Smithsonian thing people might say, oh, well, they're not really doing that. Well, I yet like again, it's like they're slow on the world stage. Just think of the people like our parents who are like, I don't know about this yet, right? So it's gonna be gentle, and but I think it's just gonna get louder and louder as the veil thins, and we're gonna start to see more things, and we're gonna know, and it's just gonna become like a flood. But yeah, we just haven't really known who we are or where we are. And I also feel like as we start to learn as a collective, really get that there's more land here outside the ice wall
Yes.
that we've been kind of put in this small portion of the earth. Um, yeah, like there's going to be just become this greater awareness that we're not the only kind of being. So I really feel that whether it's the blemmyes, the cynocephali, the dolphins, all the things on a different frequency as we move up. I mean, in so many ways, I feel like we're going to engage with more types of beings, and that's going to become normal again.
Yeah, I think we're
You
gonna
can,
have like I think we're gonna be able to welcome back like some of the OGs, the protectors
Mhm.
of the realm. I do. And I think things got a little way too messy and out of control. And like you said, like you were like, I think we had technology, pretty intense technology even back then. And I think we did too, because I think that's one of the reasons why our realm lost control over itself was because we, some of this technology was introduced into this realm, but was not used with care or
Right.
precaution. It was used to literally control and take over. And so the one thing that I got too, like even with um, the mermaids were the only ones that I got because Mia had sent like I was like, give me some questions so I can like tap into this a little bit more. And like one of the questions, because it's hard to come up with your own questions when you're like trying to, you know what I mean? I don't know, when you're trying to like channel everything. So you had asked like, were some of these creatures created or
Mhm.
manipulated or genetically engineered? And the only one that I got that was, which this surprised me, it's,
Hmm.
that's what's so interesting about channeling, because like you can have your own like thing, but then when you really channel, you're like, whoa, that was not expected. Um, I really thought the blemmies were going to be genetically engineered, but I did not get that. I did not get that information. Um, but the mermaids were actually not, they weren't created, but they were manipulated. It was like they were taken and, they did experiments on them. I think I even got that they wanted to try to create their own type of mermaid. And like, yeah.
That's interesting because the Merovingians came in, and that's like something I haven't tuned into to a long time. But I wonder how that, when you think of like the Starbucks logo,
Yep.
the Mer lady with the tooth. Um,
Yeah. And I think that's where we go wrong, because some people are like, oh, that's demonic or that's dark magic. And I don't, like, from what I get, these were like, what I mean, like they were original to protect this realm. And then something else, right? Something else tries to morph it. And so I remember you said in one of them, it was specifically for the unicorns, but I asked for all of them, like, are any of these like good or bad? And what I got in return was like, if you were trying to protect the realm at all costs, how do
mm,
you think you would come across? And I was like,
right.
oh, I would probably look dark and I would probably look
Yeah.
mean.
So, and that's so interesting. And also, we've been in polarity. So it's like
Yeah.
there's multiple ways to have that kind of conversation. But, it's really interesting because again, like as we're in this disclosure period, little drips are coming out, right? And I saw a couple things on unicorns of a unicorn skull being found in the like sort of King Arthur area, like in Cornwall, which is fascinating, and it was all over the news. And then very recently, and this is so this is so random because it's like this movie I watched. Josh and I watched, and it popped up, and I don't think I normally would have because I was like, I don't know, but it was a unicorn movie, and I was like, I gotta know how they're gonna like, and it's pretty new, so I'm like, I gotta know what they're gonna put into this, and it was kind of icky and not that great of a movie, whatever, but it was essentially Ah, there's a lot in it, but it was basically that they were essentially killing the not good people, the not
Yes.
good ones. And so they were portrayed in kind of a scary way, but the people that they were actually taking out was this old generational pharmaceutical family that had this compound deep in nature, So I was like, okay, so there's a lot in that felt like disclosure.
That's 100% disclosure. And like, I don't want to say that, like, because that's like saying like all giants are
Well,
good, but like you said, I don't think that this is
oh,
contradictory. Like, sorry.
I want to add one really thing. So I forgot
Yeah,
that
yeah, yeah.
they were also messing with the unicorn. They were trying to take its essence for healing for themselves. So anyway, it wasn't like they just went and attacked them. So anyway, go ahead though. Yeah.
Well, that sounds like Harry Potter too. Like they remember like how Voldemort, I don't know if you're a Harry Potter fan, but Voldemort would literally like try to suck the essence out of the unicorn. It's like that's a big
Oh.
thing, I think, because their essence, it's like a unicorn and Pegasuses because they're
Well,
different. And
is it like innocence too? I mean, to me, it's like what
yes,
comes in is like what is this war really been about? And it's about this vampiric, whether it's literal, physical, or energetic. It's like taking the innocence, right? That's where the children
yeah,
needed to be protected too.
taking the innocence. And like this seems contradictory because like if anybody has read the Law of One, the Law of One states that you start off as like one dimensional, then we move into like two-dimensional. We are now currently in three-dimensional. And to me, so they're saying that there's stages. We would never be something before we basically they're saying like we wouldn't have been fifth density before we were third density, and third density as we know has the duality. But I did not see like when I'm like really going back to that time period, it really seemed like a golden age. Like there wasn't a lot of duality. And if you actually do research on like the primordial gods, when they were like around, this is Greek mythology, but when you are looking into that, that was considered a golden age. When the Olympian gods came into, which was Zeus, Hera, Hades, Poseidon, the infiltrators, that was not a golden age. That was actually the start of a downfall. So you really start
Yeah.
to think about like the law of one was channeled material, but that doesn't always mean that it's like law, because I actually get something very different. I don't get that were that we had duality like we do now.
I mean,
That makes
I
sense.
feel that does, and I haven't fully read the Law of One. I've read parts of it, so but I think it's also important to say like tune, we get to all tune in for ourselves on what truth is, and
Yes.
if it feels right in your body. So we're exploring, but tune in for yourself as well. But um what I feel, I resonate with what you're saying essentially. I feel like there was a fall energetically, frequency wise, and maybe that's cyclical. I don't know, but the frequency kind of dropped, and that, yes, so we kind of went into a, what are we, maybe we went to the lowest. So yeah, I believe we've been in a dark age and we're actually moving out of into a higher density now. And that's so, and that, yes,
Yeah.
before, so you could call, yes, we've already had golden age, and we're moving into one. Will it be different? I feel like yes. Like
Yes.
it's almost like a graduation, and doesn't, we're not going back again, but that's just the vision I've had.
Yeah, I mean, I feel that too. I definitely carry that with you because I feel like even if we were in third density back then, it doesn't mean that it was, like it is now or has been. And I guess that's what I get. Like when we had these people or these beings come in and basically disrupt the frequency that we were holding, which was more peaceful, whether it was third density
Right,
or
I
not,
mean, you
it
could
was
call that
peaceful.
moo, or what people call
Yes,
Gloria. Like,
yes,
I feel like a lot of us, I feel very connected to that. Like, I've been there, and yes, that energy feels so harmonious. And just
yes,
again, what we're going to, and what we're trying to, again, what we started out the video talking about, get into that receptive, that opening for
yes.
being, and allowing us to be in a receptive, harmonious state. That's actually what we're going back to, but that's so different than where we've been.
100%. It's like we don't know. And I think like that's the other thing. Like we talk about Mu and then we go into Atlantis, which I know there's some stipulation on the timing of that and everything, but Atlantis was really still started out a harmonious, more, and that's where we started to see maybe some more corruption and like the downfall of Atlantis.
I think that's this war now. I feel like it's the Atlantis.
Still the Atlantis
It's the end
downfall.
of like all of the Atlantis yuckiness. Yeah, that's what
I
I
agree with that because I think they really want it. That's how magical I think everything was, that it took this long to try to take it all down.
yeah.
And imagine if you were living in peace and that things started to like duality really, was introduced in here or to this level. Imagine what that would do to so many beings that used to be peaceful. Like if you have to fight to save your life, like I think most of us would fight for our lives or fight for our children's lives or do whatever we need to do to like survive. And I think that's what a lot of these beings
Hmm.
were put in the position of doing.
Yeah.
Um, the mermaids, I think, were so interesting because the mermaids, I see some of them like going to a different realm, and that could be inner earth, that could be like, you've got to tap in because I can't quite pinpoint it. And I think that's
I
for
feel
a
like
reason.
I feel like it's in the way that, if you imagine, there's different radio stations, different
Yes.
frequencies, and there are worlds on top of worlds like pancakes. And that's why some people can see more into the next realm, see spirits,
Yeah.
ghosts, or fairy folk more easily. It's like because they're like on a different radio station, or when
So there's like a veil.
you shift your frequency, yeah, you can then
Yep.
see. So like I've been in shifted states where I've seen friends, I've seen their core essence, because I believe we each have like a soul, original kind of soul family. So it's almost like you're a layered fractal. So like I've seen these, I talked about this in my Substack, but I've seen these friends as what I think is their soul essence. One was like a fairy type being, and the other was almost like a gnome elf type thing that was like a little like weird looking, and it's a trip because they're very pretty young women, and it was real. I mean, it was just like interesting. So it's like, yes, it's like kind of like turning that dial on our frequency radio station, and
Yep.
then oh, there's a whole other realm here that we can't see because we also don't see the entire light spectrum. So you could think of even
Yep.
that spectrum being like the frequency, so, and these different realms later on, because there have a friend of my dear friend, kind of my mentor, saw a mermaid recently in the last year or something. I remember being
Oh
told this
my
story.
God.
So it's like, and maybe it's as a whole, that's again us shifting into densities, into frequency.
Yes.
And so, as much as we allow it, because we can also block these things with our brain if it's like scary, right? Like we could have an ET or somebody standing next to us, and we're just
Yep.
like, no, I'm not going to see that. It's just we're going to see these things more as we open to it.
Yeah, 100%. I think, have you like looked into, because I started to do that too. I like looked into my own lineage, and I was like, um, I've always been really drawn to like the fairies or fae. And I had a mentor who was like, you're definitely of the fae lineage. And I started to look at like my Scottish heritage and my German heritage, and both of them have the elves or the fae in,
Mhm.
in their folklore. Folklore.
Yeah, folklore.
No, all folklore and myth and legend. But that's the thing, is like it's just really interesting because a part of me also believes like we did come from somewhere and we were manipulated, like humans were manipulated. And did we maybe start off as humans? I don't know. Like none of us know. You have all these stories of like demigods interbreeding with humans and fairy and fae interbreeding with humans. Like we don't know, and I think that's also something that we could like really open ourselves to, because there's a whole part of our lineage, of our cultures, that we don't even know yet.
Right. Yeah, we've been lied to about our entire history
Everything.
and what's true and what's real and what's not. But also like, I am open to the idea that we've also had that we could have kind of our original sort of soul lineage, like could be like an architect soul or like a fairy soul or a an ET, maybe Palladian, but
Yep.
still had many lives in different kinds of bodies. So I
Oh
had a
yeah.
vision once, wasn't a vision, it was very real. It was like I popped through this was when I was deep in a sound bath for like a 2-hour sound bath. And it was like
Wow.
one of the first times I've ever had that experience. So I'm sure it was really like shifting my energy. And I saw a lion person, which I didn't know what I had. This was early internet days. I didn't have like a framework for that or a name for that or anything, but it was a humanoid lion being. And I was like, oh, hey. And it was like, he was just popping through to like say hi kind of. And then I got so excited, I kind of clicked out of it, but it was positive. So it's like, I had a friend say, well, that's someone in that different body. You've been in one of those too, right? So like we could have sort of our core soul essence, but then have a lot of lives in, like, I could have been a lion being person. I could have had lives in the
Is
Palladian
that
or as
Lyran? I
fairies.
think that might be Lyran.
Lear, yeah, so they'll call that,
Yeah.
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 So, there's also that possibility. I mean,
A hundred percent.
I just think you guys, like, this is the time you could think this is crazy, and that's okay, but, like, it's it's about to just blast on open. Like, we're about to step into a world where a lot of things are gonna pop up that are going to really, 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 be in contrast with what we've been told is real and true, and it can be really fun and like an adventure, or if, it could also be scary, but like to me it's an adventure and it's
It
really
is.
exciting and I can't wait to
I
find out.
can't wait either. I mean, I'm really excited. And like to me it's like, we have these stories of from all over the world of the flood, right? Like everywhere, all over about the flood. but then we
Right.
also have, and now we can like catalog that, but now we have these stories, not now, I mean, but you can look into this. We have stories all over the world of mermaids. Literally every
Yeah.
continent has mermaid stories.
So,
Why? Like why? And this is supposedly at a time where we weren't connecting, right? Like we didn't know what was going
right.
on across the world. How would
Mhm.
we have that information? And what really is going on here?
Yeah, I mean, I want to ask you something about the mermaids, but I also just the Dogon came in, and if you guys don't know about the Dogon, they're a tribe from
Yep.
Africa that's so fascinating, and they actually have a whole mythology around the fish people too.
Yes.
So, or those the mer people? Is that something different? They also knew when they were, quote unquote discovered, which is like of course it's kind of like founded. It's like they were found or they were introduced to our
Right.
narrative at this time, right? So they discovered the Dogon and they were like, oh, they know things that they knew things before the rest of the world knew them. So they knew things about the cosmos or different star systems
It was like you could see,
before.
yeah, you could see like Sirius, is it Sirius A that we can see, but then there's
Mhm.
Sirius B that you
That's what
cannot
they're right,
see.
so they're very connected to Sirius B, exactly.
Yes.
And
And
they
I
I
think
think
they have stories of like those beings actually coming down
yes,
and like communicating with them.
I think through sky ladders. It's so
Yes,
fascinating, and they're
I
so cool,
love it.
and they have the most magical and amazing, attire, like, these costumes. They're so cool. If you don't know the Dogon, go check them out. Their homes,
The
all of
Dogon
everything about
tribe,
them is,
yeah.
like is very Earth is a magical realm vibes. They're
Earth
like
is 100%. And but that's what's crazy is that this tribe, they know that.
yeah,
Like,
they
they
never forgot.
know that.
They know that they're like, you guys are programmed and crazy, probably. They're
Yeah.
like, duh,
I
like,
mean, they're
we know
probably
this.
like, don't feel sorry for us. We feel sorry for you.
Exactly. And that's the thing. I think certain places, and I think this is going to come out too, that have been shunned or kind of like, oh, that's a flyover state, that's a flyover country. Oh, they're very poor, like Ethiopia. I actually
Yes.
think in that movie Black Panther, it's like I feel like that's
Yep.
connected to Ethiopia. And they haven't participated in a lot of the in a lot of these sort of yucky systems. So they still have the moon count. They still have a 13-month calendar. The Ethiopian Bible is like
The
unedited.
oldest.
Is
Yeah.
right. So like there's so many things about that. What were we told growing up? Oh, poor them. You don't want to go there. It's icky. They don't have anything to eat. It's just all negative and just, almost like nothing. That just a little bit. So we don't there are places like this that I think they purposefully misrepresented or created maybe that there and just showed us a portion of that to kind of block people from being interested or going there
Well,
when
I
there might
think the
be.
blemmyes and the cynocephali both were inhabitants in Ethiopia.
Right. So okay,
So
so
it
there
doesn't
I just got
surprise me.
chills. Yeah, so I feel like and in the Black Panther, if you guys haven't seen that movie, it's amazing. There's
The
a lot of
veil.
closure in it. The veil, yeah, they're
Yeah.
hiding things behind sort of a frequency veil and actually living in the most magical, you know, wholesome
Like
time.
tuned in, and they had lots of technology. Like they had
Yeah.
like I think that's what we're going to be when we can actually get our
Yes.
shit together.
Yeah.
I think that's what's going to be
Yes.
ready for us.
100%. And I get that. And actually the what is the stone in there that they use? I forget what they call it, but that's real. Yeah.
I can't remember, but I know what you're talking
So
about.
that's very real. And the med beds are in there. They're real. Exactly.
Yes,
So
they
I think
are.
yeah, so that movie totally resonates to me too. It's kind of like where we're going, like an earth aligned, harmonious, wholesome existence, but with very high technology. But you have to have high consciousness to use that high technology. Otherwise, you'll destroy yourself. And that's what Atlantis was. That's what we've been living through, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's why, like, I keep getting that we're going through this like very, very quickly, but at the same time, for us, it probably feels like still a
Yeah.
little slow. But it's like we still have so much to purge our bodies are not going to be the same. I talked about this too. Like, I
Mm,
don't think we're going to need food the way that we've needed food. I think our body's going to
I don't think
actually
so. Yeah.
operate more off of like the atmosphere, the ether. Like, that's where we're going to find our nutrition more,
I totally agree
you
because
know?
that's again, if you look at these old Tartarian buildings, the old
Yes.
old world buildings,
We
they
have
don't
the
have bathrooms. These palatial buildings, and there's no original bathrooms. So
Well,
yeah,
that
I
like
think
makes you think differently about castles too, because like, I mean, you would say like, oh, they didn't, they didn't have, they had outhouses and stuff, but like castles were still like beautiful creations, like really beautiful creations. So what if they weren't put in there because not because we didn't need indoor plumbing or we couldn't have indoor plumbing, but because we didn't need
maybe we
plumbing.
didn't
We
need
didn't
it,
need
and
it.
right, and then
That
if
would
you
cut
had to,
down on a lot of stuff. Can you imagine?
no, it's a whole different world. Your life is just freed up, and you're living you're kind of just living your for pleasure and like
Yeah.
creativity. Yeah, it's not you don't have to think about what to make for dinner every night too. I
Right.
mean, it really clears up a lot of like
A lot of
time,
space.
a lot of
Space.
space.
It welcomes you into being. And like my
It
dad was
does.
like, well, how do you like what like how do you get rid of waste, like your toxins? And I said, like through your skin, like through your body. It will just be different.
Right.
Plus, we're not going to have nearly the amount of toxins that we're trying to, get
No.
out of our systems now.
Yeah, that's where I totally get that. That's where we're going back to because
Yeah.
yeah, if you think about it this way, it's like if we are take away the geoengineering and the weather warfare, we return to we're a closed, I believe we're a closed system, that the earth is like a
Yes.
terminal field and we have the firmament, which is
That's what
talked
I
about
get.
in the Bible. So then we're living in a more natural state where it's more green, almost like Hawaii, maybe not quite so warm, and things will grow really easily. The earth grids are restored. So there's just harmonious energy. Maybe we turn back on the pyramids or the different things that were helping to harmonize the energy too. But do we even need it if the earth grids are activated? Then we also have free energy devices. We're working with harmonics. We're working with frequency healing, things like that. I feel like what we're moving towards is we're so used to being in this really low vibration where everything, it's like mud, it's like a
Everything's
struggle,
a
it's like
struggle.
parasites, like the parasites won't exist in the higher frequency. So it's just gonna be like you get to be, you're gonna feel lighter, you're gonna be naturally full of vitality. We're not gonna have to work at any of those things anymore.
No.
And yeah, and I think this is why we're going through this point. It's like
Yeah.
this is gonna seem so wild to like the average person on the street. And it's like, yeah, there's a process and shifting up to that. So there has to be, again, it's like the destruction of the old, the falling away of the programming, the limiting the
Yeah.
beliefs, the literal systems.
Like
Uh,
there has to be space for us to be able to like, what?
this bird just like yelled, was like, yeah,
Oh,
it was like,
it was squawking. It was like, yeah.
yeah.
I was
Anyway,
doing research the other day because I'm working on like a big project, but I was, we were talking about like our environment being more stable. Like I don't really think we had seasons at one point.
no, I agree. Yeah.
I think that was designed. I think we really had like a very temperate, like I think of like San Diego weather. Like that's kind of like what we had. Um, and if you think about like the story of Persephone, okay? And we're
Mhm.
talking about like those Olympian gods now, like these infiltrators, but Demeter, her mother, was supposedly the goddess of harvest. And that takes me back the whole way back to like if you want to call it the cult, but the cult of Asherah. And the Asherah was one of the goddesses that came here to teach us how to basically farm and to work together. And so she had like a really big following. Demeter, which I think might have actually, this story derived from Asherah, but anyway, I digress. Demeter was the goddess of harvesting. But we didn't have seasons until Persephone was taken by Hades. Because
Mm.
Demeter was like, I'm so heartbroken. My daughter was taken from me, so she stopped doing everything. The land lay waste. there was famine, there was sickness, there was disease, people were dying. And then it wasn't until Persephone came back 6 months out of the year to be with her mother that we saw spring and summer again.
That, so I just got chills.
When
Yeah,
she
so
was
it's like
down with
disclosure.
Hades, yeah, when she was
Yeah.
down with Hades, it was fall and winter. So that just like if you have the tools to poke around, you can go, well, what was it before?
Right.
Like, because
Yeah.
that was the introduction of seasons, of how we got seasons.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
that
that's what I said. Like, there's so much beauty in these stories and like what you can get, but there's also like hidden threads of like how they used these stories to even cover up,
hmm
the
Yeah.
truth.
Cover up the truth. Totally. That deeply resonates. And that's, yeah, that's what I believe. We're going to transcend that stuff. And that's just again, that's another thing that will make our lives easier. It's like maybe we'll be able to go to really high mountains to have snow or something, or maybe it won't be there at all, but it's not going to be this drudgery. I mean, when I was very young, we lived in
Freezing
the
cold.
Midwest, and it's just like the car battery would freeze. You'd have to take it into the
Yes.
house. I mean, it was like a hard life, you know? So
Yeah.
like that's not gonna, yeah, I think that was done on purpose just to make things more hard here.
Difficult. I think,
Yeah.
yeah, difficult. I think it was to be more difficult. I think like we just had more stability in a temperate environment. I think that
Yeah.
there was more harvesting that could be done too.
Well,
Like
then fruit's
think
gonna
about
thrive everywhere.
abundance.
Yeah,
Right.
fruit's gonna thrive
We had
everywhere.
abundance.
Mhm.
When we're in fall and winter, like a lot of these, like you think about Scotland, England, even Pennsylvania, where I'm at, like you can't farm in maybe a little in the fall, but once you get November, you're looking at winter. And you've really got to depend on other ways of getting your food. I don't think it used to be like that.
Yeah,
I think there
agree.
was abundance. But you
Mhm.
said you had a question about the mermaids. Do you remember?
Oh, do you feel in their essence also, like, are they, well, if they're guardians, I guess you already kind of got what you said, what you got, because it's kind of similar to the unicorns. They're more guardians, perhaps. And so they could seem, again, depending on the energy you're bringing to them. I think this goes for ETs too. It's like, what frequency are you presenting? Is it going to show you like a scary face or a welcoming face? Because if you're going at something with like a pitchfork, you're afraid of it and you're scared, then it's not probably going to seem warm, right? It might
Yeah.
seem scary, but if you are going with the pure field, um, then it will seem beautiful.
I mean, think about all the stories of like, you think about the folklore and the legend that some sailors even use to today, of
Right.
these passes, and you have to be careful of the sirens because they lure you in, and it's like or the what were they called? You said it earlier, and it's one of the mer peoples that live off of Scotland. The
The
mer
Merovingians?
Mergiv, I can't say
Merovingians?
Merovin, yes. Those
Mm.
are, I think those live off of, or some of them maybe live up. No, it isn't Scotland. But
I forget.
anyway, my point is
Mhm.
that if there were, this belief to attack them because they're harmful, what do you think, what kind of rap do you think mermaids are going to get
Right,
them?
exactly.
You know
If
what I
they're gonna
mean?
have a
And
bad vibe.
and how are they gonna try to like protect themselves?
Yeah, if they're
You
fighting for their
know?
lives because they're on guard. And that's like likely with a lot of the giants too. I mean, I
Yep.
think there were the giants that seem to have been the cannibalistic ones too,
Right.
but then there were the ones that I don't think were and had to kind of go into hiding. Yeah. So it's kind of
And I
like
think, right. So that's what I mean. Like there's not, and I think we could say that about everything, right? Because we have good humans and we have maybe not great humans, but you could say that about every
polarity.
single race. Yes, every single species of being.
Right.
Um, it's not, it's not black and white,
Right. They're
So
it's
you could have some unicorns that are like, don't mess with that herd. don't go over there. Or, oh no, those are the nice ones. They'll come talk to you, like just like
Yeah,
horses. There are some horses that you can walk right up to and pet them right away. And then there are some horses that are gonna buck and they'll snarl at you, they'll try to bite you. It's the same
right.
thing. And
It's
I
the
think it's
same
the
thing.
same thing with the mermaids. The dragons, here's the thing I think about dragons, because some of these, like we still have mermaids here. We know they're here. Cynocephaly, I think we're going to start seeing again. I do think we're going to start seeing the cynocephaly again. I'm really excited for the dragons because the dragons definitely went into hiding completely. Um,
A really great movie for that too is Dragonheart. I'm sure you've
I
seen it.
love that movie. I love that movie. What was Sean
Sean
is the
Connery?
Sean Connery was the voice, wasn't he?
Yeah, yeah,
Of
yeah.
Dragon. Yeah,
Yeah.
I love that. Oh
Perfect
God,
choice.
I love that. And that's like the other thing, like you go into like the legends of Arthur and like the Arthurian folklore. Like there's so much magic. Lady of the Lake. I mean, people talk about the
Okay.
Lady of the Lake, but there's actually stories of the Lady of the Lake being a mermaid.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. There's also a really beautiful movie that came out recently. It's Disney, and I know, but I
I
think
know.
all these companies have been taken over by the white hats with Executive Order 13818 at this point. So there a lot of interesting things are coming out. It's a kids movie, but it's about Merlin, the sword and the stone kind of vibe. You got to watch it. It's so good.
Is it
It like
out?
made us cry. So,
Oh my
yeah,
God, I'm
it's
writing
out.
it
And
down.
the Lady of the Lake is in it, and they're going through portals, and it's a very much Earth is a magical realm kind of
And
movie. I
we've
mean, I
talked
think
about that. Like you and I have talked about portals and stargates and like what this means and interdimensional travel and outer stellar travel. And I don't think we can get to outer space in the way that we've been told we get to outer
right.
space.
I don't
So
either.
I think that's
Yeah.
gonna be like
Well,
I just
it's coming. I mean, I don't
yeah.
know if you saw that clip. I'll share it again, but I'll see if I can put the link under. But it was on mainstream media like NBC, and they were talking about how a recently deceased um somebody high up in the government in Israel talked about that yes, there is what's the term? Like an ET collective. What is it called? Organization. And
Okay.
sorry, there's a word for it. It'll come in. But anyway, and Trump knows about it and he's working with them. I mean, this is like mainstream news, and they're like they haven't commented on it. And but what's fascinating is that they quoted the guy, and this was the part that I like pointed out when I shared it. It was like they've been waiting for the right time to introduce themselves to humanity when humanity's consciousness has risen to be able to understand the nature of space and space travel and what that really is, something like that. But basically, which was like, oh my gosh, on mainstream media they just told the world that we don't understand what space really is. So I was like, okay, mic drop. Yeah, they're just putting it out there.
I don't know how you couldn't be excited for that because for
I
all the
know.
people like me who have just questioned everything and thought like it's got to be different. There's something that we don't know, all these things. It's like that is just so exciting to me. It's so
It
exciting.
is. It's so exciting. I mean, maybe that's the note we leave it on, but we should do another one because it's like I know we could talk about this stuff for hours and we could find some other fun things to focus
Oh
on.
God, yeah.
But like, yeah, you guys, it's so exciting. And if it feels like too much, you're in the void, like the world stage, the politics stuff, just tune it out because it's unfolding and it's for our best. I truly believe. And what's coming is basically, yes, the remembrance of Earth as a magical realm and remembering who we truly are and how powerful that you really are. And like, it's gonna be so fun and exciting and just fascinating what we're stepping into. So
I can't wait.
I can't wait.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, thank you so much. As always, so fun. And let's do it again soon. And
Absolutely.
And thank you guys so much for joining. Have a beautiful day, evening, wherever you are. Sending you all so much love.
Bye.